About a week ago, the United States extracted President Nicolás Maduro and his wife from a safe home in the Venezuelan capital, Caracas. Such an event is rare in the history of world diplomacy. The head of state of an independent, sovereign nation has been kidnapped, and that too on direct orders from the United States. Donald Trump calls it a war on narco-terrorism, but international analysts see it as the ultimate expression of jungle law. The tremors of this event in Caracas have crossed the Atlantic and reached the shores of the Pacific. Panic has spread most acutely in Taipei, Taiwan. Why? Because Beijing's social media platform, Weibo, is currently in turmoil. Chinese netizens are raising the question, if America can forcibly change the government in Venezuela, right in their backyard, why can't China do the same in Taiwan, which it claims as its own part? U.S. Senator Mark Warner himself has admitted, once this red line is crossed, China will claim the same rights regarding Taiwan. So, is the Maduro operation actually a green signal for Xi Jinping? Has Trump unknowingly cleared the path for the annexation of Taiwan? Or is there a deeper geopolitical chess move behind this, hidden from the public eye? From the fall of Venezuela to the global politics of semiconductors and the future of the Taiwan Strait, we will analyze it all in today's episode. On January 3rd, the U.S. conducted Operation Absolute Resolve in Caracas, Venezuela, one of the most daring missions in Pentagon history and a violation of international legal boundaries. Without any declaration of war, without any UN authorization, the head of state of a sovereign nation was lifted from his own bedroom. We often see scenes like this in Hollywood spy thriller movies, but in real geopolitics, such events are unimaginable. Donald Trump has named this operation a war on narco-terrorism. He claims Maduro had turned his country into a haven for drug traffickers, posing a threat to America's national security. But whatever Maduro's crimes may be, the method of his arrest has sent a terrifying message to the world. Charlie Campbell of Time magazine has described it as snapping the last thread of international norms. Since World War II, the world has run on certain unwritten rules. Sovereignty, border laws, and diplomatic immunity for heads of state were the foundations of those rules. But this operation in Caracas has pulverized that 80-year-old system in a single night. In an interview with the New York Times, what Donald Trump said sent a cold shiver down the spines of world leaders. Trump clearly stated, "I have no need for international law. The only force capable of stopping me is my own morality." This single sentence proves that the world is no longer running on a rules-based order. The world has entered the era of jungle law, where the powerful tiger can do whatever it wants, and the weak deer must simply accept it. The shockwaves of this event in Caracas have crashed onto the shores of the Pacific, straight into Beijing. A storm has erupted on China's social media platform, Weibo. But surprisingly, Chinese netizens are not afraid. Rather, they see this as an opportunity or a green signal. In a viral post, a Chinese user wrote, "Since America does not value international law, we should use the same method to recover Taiwan." Victor Gao, known as China's unofficial spokesperson, explained the situation very clearly. He said, "This is the end of Pax Americana. America has placed itself above the law, setting a dangerous precedent for others." Think about it. If Xi Jinping declares tomorrow that Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te is a separatist criminal and a threat to China's national security, and then China launches a surgical strike in Taipei to extract him, from what moral ground will America protest? Beijing used to pretend to restrain itself by citing international law, but Trump has handed them a potent weapon. This is called whataboutism. China can now point its finger at the world and say, if America can do it, why can't we? Of course, the situations in Venezuela and Taiwan are not the same. There was division among the people regarding Maduro's rule, whereas Taiwan is a fully fledged democratic country. But to aggressive powers, these differences are merely theoretical. To them, what matters is the precedent. Trump may have conducted this operation for Venezuelan oil and his own political ego. But unknowingly, he has opened a Pandora's box. The ghost of jungle law that has emerged from this box is now looking greedily at Taiwan. There is no referee in world politics anymore, no rules. The game is now entirely about power. And perhaps the next stage for this test of strength is going to be the Taiwan Strait. Hsinchu Science Park, Taiwan. From the outside, it looks like any ordinary industrial area, but hidden within these few square kilometers is the most powerful weapon in the current world. Not a nuclear bomb or a hypersonic missile. That weapon is a microchip, smaller than a human fingernail. These factories of Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, or TSMC, are Taiwan's real armor. In military terminology, this is being called the Silicon Shield. Why can't China simply attack Taiwan tomorrow if it wants to? The answer lies in a terrifying equation of the global economy. Taiwan produces 92% of the world's advanced semiconductor chips. From the smartphone in your hand to NVIDIA's AI supercomputers, and even the radar systems of F-35 fighter jets, everything runs on these TSMC chips. A recent Bloomberg study revealed a horrific scenario. If China launches an all-out attack on Taiwan or blockades the island, the collapse in the global economy would amount to approximately $10 trillion. For comparison, the damage would be many times greater than the 2008 global financial crisis or the COVID-19 pandemic. Production at trillion-dollar companies like Apple, Microsoft, Google, or Amazon would stop overnight. The stock market would crash in a way that no central bank has the power to handle. TSMC is not just a company, it is the oxygen of modern civilization. And Xi Jinping knows very well that cutting the oxygen pipe doesn't just kill the enemy, it kills the self too. Now the question may arise, if Donald Trump can remove Maduro for Venezuelan oil, why wouldn't China seize Taiwan for chips? Here lies the fundamental difference between Venezuela and Taiwan. Venezuela's resource is oil. If you seize an oil field, you can easily extract oil with other workers. But the semiconductor industry is completely different. It is not an oil mine where you get resources just by occupying it. This is the world's most complex and precise engineering. The machines used in TSMC's factories, especially ASML's lithography machines, require highly skilled personnel trained for years to operate. If China attacks, Taiwanese engineers will either flee the country or refuse to cooperate. Moreover, there is an unwritten scorched earth policy between TSMC and the United States. This means that if Chinese forces move to take control of the factories, the machines will be disabled remotely. The Dutch company ASML can lock their machine software from afar. As a result, China will get only billions of dollars worth of scrap metal, no chips. On the other hand, China itself is heavily dependent on this silicon shield. China may be the world's factory, but the chips that run those factory machines come from Taiwan. Statistics show that China imports about 60% of its required chips from Taiwan. According to Bloomberg reports, if war breaks out in Taiwan, China's own GDP could shrink by up to 16.7%. China's IT sector, electric vehicle industry, and their ambitious AI projects will collapse due to a lack of chips. Millions of Chinese citizens will become unemployed, which could shake the foundation of the Communist Party's power. Even the modern missiles and drones of China's military, or PLA, depend on these chips. So, attacking Taiwan means Xi Jinping shooting himself in the foot. It would be a form of economic suicide. Therefore, while the Maduro operation in Venezuela showed the world the fear of jungle law, that jungle law will not apply to Taiwan. Because here, the global economy stands as the guard, until China or America can build alternative chip factories themselves, and even if they can, it will take at least another 10 to 15 years. Taiwan is safe. This tiny island holds the world hostage with its silicon chips. Donald Trump's eyes are no longer on the Middle East or Europe. His gaze is now fixed on his own backyard. Removing Maduro in Venezuela was not just an anti-drug operation, it was the biggest gamble of Trump's The Art of the Deal. Modern geopolitical analysts are comparing this to the historic Yalta Conference of 1945. Just as Roosevelt, Churchill, and Stalin divided the world amongst themselves at the end of World War II, Trump wants to do exactly the same in 2026. He is offering an unwritten proposal to Xi Jinping and Putin. Come, let us divide the world anew. Trump's new game is being named Monroe Doctrine 2.0. In 1823, President James Monroe declared that no European interference would be tolerated in the Western Hemisphere. Today, 100 years later, Trump has brought back that policy even more aggressively. His new National Security Strategy 2025 explicitly states, Latin America and the Caribbean region will be exclusively the United States' sphere of influence. There is no place for China or Russia here. Trump's message is clear. China, pack your bags and get out of my backyard. Latin America, your Belt and Road Initiative or debt traps won't work here. But why would China listen to Trump? China has invested over $600 billion in Latin America over the last 2 decades. From Brazil to Argentina, Peru to Venezuela, China's money dominates everywhere. Will China give up this vast empire so easily? Here lies Trump's strategy of dividing the cake. Trump is offering China a secret proposal or bait, and the name of that bait is Taiwan. International relations experts believe Trump's message is something like this. If you leave my sphere of influence, i.e. Latin America, then I might not bother about your sphere of influence, i.e. Taiwan and the South China Sea. This is the biggest exchange offer of the modern era. Trump knows that for Xi Jinping, adding Taiwan to China's map is far more emotional and politically important than the economy of Latin America. Taiwan is China's core interest. Trump has touched that exact weak spot. On the other hand, this is an existential crisis for Taiwan. Until now, they knew America was committed to protecting their democracy, but to Trump, democracy or human rights have no value unless there is a business profit. Trump sees Taiwan as a bargaining chip. He is ready to sell Taiwan if the price is right. He might be thinking that after moving Taiwan's chip industry to America, the island will have no strategic value left. Then he could unhesitatingly hand Taiwan over to China in exchange for China withdrawing from Latin America. Late-night discussions are now ongoing in Beijing's Zhongnanhai, the center of power. Xi Jinping faces 2 paths. 1. Agree to Trump's proposal. In this, China can fulfill its long-standing dream of Taiwan reunification without any major war. If America steps aside, seizing Taiwan is only a matter of time. 2. Reject the proposal. In that case, China maintains its economic dominance in Latin America, but conflict with America over Taiwan will continue. China knows very well that Trump is a businessman. What he says today, he might change tomorrow. So China isn't stepping into Trump's trap just yet. They are watching to see how much Trump is actually willing to concede. After the Maduro operation, China understands that Trump will use force if necessary to clean up his backyard. Now China must decide. Will they protect allies like Venezuela or sacrifice them to snatch Taiwan? In this game of Yalta 2.0, small nations have no voice. Venezuela or Taiwan, they are merely pieces of cake on the table of superpowers. Who eats which piece is being decided by Washington and Beijing. Donald Trump has placed the world before a new reality. In this reality, there is no place for morality or friendship. There is only transaction. And on this transaction table, Taiwan might be about to become the 21st century's biggest sacrificial lamb. The military exercises China conducted around Taiwan late last year can no longer be called ordinary drills. Admiral Samuel Paparo, head of the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, gasped while analyzing satellite footage at the Pentagon. He informed Congress, "These are not ordinary exercises, these are rehearsals. China is preparing for an all-out war. A specific year is marked in red on Xi Jinping's calendar. That is 2027. By this year, the centenary of the People's Liberation Army, or PLA, China wants to prepare its military such that they can seize Taiwan whenever they want." But Venezuela and Taiwan are not the same. What Donald Trump did in Caracas was a swift operation, or surgical raid. Helicopters landed, picked up the president, and left. As easy as the job seems, capturing Taiwan is 1,000 times harder. To capture Taiwan, China would have to conduct the largest amphibious assault in history. Remember the D-Day landings of World War II? China would have to land troops on an even larger scale, crossing 100 miles of the turbulent Taiwan Strait to deliver millions of troops, tanks, and supplies is no child's play. Moreover, Taiwan's coastline is such that docking large ships is nearly impossible. There are only a handful of beaches where troops can land, and the Taiwanese army has already turned those spots into death traps. If China attacks, will America sit idly by? Here comes the Pentagon's secret project, Operation Hellscape. Simply put, turning the Taiwan Strait into a hellhole. US planners know their large warships could be targets for China's hypersonic missiles, so they have devised a novel strategy. As soon as China starts an attack, thousands of unmanned drones and robotic submarines will be released into the Taiwan Strait. These drones will attack Chinese ships in swarms like bees. Their goal is not to sink the ships, but to keep the Chinese forces busy and blind their sensors. Crossing this hellscape to set foot on Taiwanese soil will become a nightmare for the PLA. But China is not foolish. They follow military strategies that are thousands of years old. Chinese strategist Sun Tzu said, "The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting." The Venezuela event has taught China that getting into a direct conflict with America is foolish, so Xi Jinping might not walk the path of missile attacks or landing troops. He might choose the anaconda strategy, strangling the victim. Its formal name is a blockade or quarantine. Taiwan is an island. Almost all of its necessary fuel, food, and raw materials must be imported by sea. If China simply surrounds Taiwan with its massive navy and declares, "No ship will enter Taiwan," the game is over. No need to drop bombs, no need to fire bullets. If the blockade lasts just a few weeks, Taiwan's power plants will shut down, internet cables will be severed, and the stock market will crash. Then the people of Taiwan themselves might take to the streets against the government and say, "We don't want war, we want to live." The Venezuela operation has given Beijing another crucial signal. That is, Trump shows strength against small and weak opponents. But with major powers, he believes in deals or transactions. China thinks Trump is an isolationist. He doesn't want to fight wars on foreign soil with American taxpayers' money. After the bitter experiences of Vietnam, Iraq, and Afghanistan, America wants no more boots on the ground. Xi Jinping might be calculating. If China imposes a blockade, will Trump send the US 7th Fleet to break it? Or will he say, "This is a faraway event, we don't need to bother"? The aggressive form Trump showed through the Maduro operation has actually fueled this strategy of patience for China. The dragon is no longer roaring, it is now waiting silently. It knows America is currently busy with its own house in Latin America. And taking advantage of this distraction, perhaps one day the red flag will silently rise over the heart of the Pacific. The event in Venezuela has undoubtedly marked the beginning of a new chapter in world politics. Donald Trump has proven, in this era, power is the reality, not law. However, thinking that China will attack Taiwan right now would be foolish. China is not as weak as Venezuela, and Taiwan is not as helpless as Maduro. Involved here are a $10 trillion global economy and the risk of conflict between two nuclear-armed nations. But the ominous sign is, the world system or order has collapsed. The invisible walls or norms that prevented big countries from occupying small ones have crumbled with the Maduro operation. Now the question is, in Trump's New World Order, will Taiwan be sacrificed merely as a chess piece? Or will the power of the Silicon Shield and democracy protect it? The answer lies in the hands of time. But the scent of gunpowder is now in the air of the Pacific. China is waiting, preparing, and measuring Trump's every step. The dragon might not spread fire right now, but its eyes are fixed on the prey.